My name is Wes Gibson, better known as Dr. Hook.
Brandon Gibson, Kalamazoo, 24 years old. 11 800 series, 27 300 games. A few championships in like local tournaments. I won the high school championship when I was a senior.
I now have 17 300s. I shot 9 300s in 1 year back in 1971-72 when 300 was unheard of. Like I mentioned, my first 300 of that set was the first one in 66 years. Now, Brandon, my son who's on the tour, he shot his 18th 300 when he was still in youth bowling. And I watched the first 18 300s he ever shot. When he shot that 300, number 18, and beat my record for the quote-unquote family, I walked up on the approach, got down on my knees, and I bowed to him because he's really that good.
I was 2 when I started, obviously with my dad owning a pro shop and running a pro shop and being a former pro. It was, I was introduced to it and I liked it when I was young, and then I really got into it when I grew up a little bit.
I got started bowling when I was 18 years old. I was not allowed to be in a bowling center when I was a kid because I was raised by my grandparents. And bowling alleys and pool halls were no place where young people went. And I finally convinced her that that bowling alley wasn't such a bad place and those bad guys didn't hang out there. Eventually, she bought my first bowling ball for me because she found out it was a sport that I could be involved in that was actually a pretty clean sport.
It wasn't forced. It was never forced. That was a great thing about it. But the fact is, you know, I had an older brother that was into it, and he was good, and I wanted to be good too, as good if not better than he was. So it was really fun. And then to see like how proud my dad would be when certain things would happen and I'd throw the ball well, that made it all pay off.
Actually, if you are born into my family, you don't have a choice. You're going to be a bowler. My whole family has been involved in it. I started all the boys at 2.5 years old. Had them on the lanes with their own bowling ball by the time they were 3. They've grown up with the sport with me. They've all become the same attitude-wise of having a love for the sport that I have. And it's great fun. Well, let me put it this way, and you heard me say it before, you cannot beat youth. Now, when I was 20, that would be an interesting story. If we could turn the time clock back, let me be 20 and let Brandon be 24. Okay? I think we'd be pretty even.
Me. Yeah. Now it's me. But at the same time, you know, he taught me everything I know. I picked up a few things on the side, but you know, back in the day, that would be a fun match. The way my dad used to bowl, and you know, if we could go back in time and I could bowl against him then, that would be interesting because I know he used to be really tough. One of the most memorable games was actually when we finished second in the tournament, but I was bowling with my older brother as a partner. It was an adult junior thing, and we ended up losing that game because of one shot in the 10th, but it was fun to bowl with him and to be bowling as good as we did for how long the format was. You know, we threw about 23 games that day, and to be dominating like we were and then finish second, but it was still, I remember everything about it. That was fun.
One that really comes to mind is one of the early PBA tournaments that I was bowling in. And I was bowling in match play. That's when you bowl head-to-head after you've qualified to make the finals. And I bowled a game against Dick Weber, one of my idols in this game. The game before that, I shot 256. Now we're talking about back in 1972. 250 games were not very prevalent. When I shot my first 300 game, it was the third 300 in 66 years in the city that I lived in. We had 4 300s last week in Kalamazoo. So the world has changed, but this match particularly remembers a great day because I had shot 256 the game before I bowled against Dick Weber. I was shaking in my boots when I went to bowl against Dick because he was that star that I'd looked up to all these years. I shot 165. The next game, bowling against Ray Bluth, another one of my idols, I shot 256 again after Dick walked up to me after he had just beaten my buns up and said, you know what, Wes, you put your pants on the same way I do. Why did you bowl like you did against me? And I said, because you're Dick Weber. He said, nah. He says, we're all the same.
I had a lot of aspirations, and I still do, to go on the National Pro Tour, but it's kind of tough to get sponsors, especially with the way things are with the economy the way it is. And till that point comes along, it's kind of just practice, stay sharp, you know, continue to impress people when they see me bowl and get the word out. I mean, I'm pretty well known in Kalamazoo and across the state, but it's a matter of picking up the right person and getting my shot at it. So for now, it's what I'm doing now. You know, as everyone knows, I'm a bowler. I love to coach. It's it's another knack of mine. But down the road, hopefully, I'll be on tour with the big shots.
People always are looking for those to look up to mentor to. Those people who become really good at any sport. Other people look up to them. They need those people to give them a goal to strive for. That's how I develop my youth bowlers in the area. I run a Masters League, and that's what we do with them, is we give them goals to shoot for. Can you get to be as good as this person? Can you get to be as good as a Brandon Gibson who broke every record in the Kalamazoo, Southwest Michigan area as a youth? Can you get that good? Well, you have to remind them of those people. So we need the professionals as well as what their ability brings back to the sport. We need those, and I think it will continue to strive. We're seeing more and more corporate now getting into it, and again, they're getting into it on that family basis.
I'll be the same way my father was. You know, it'll be in the family. I won't force it upon my son or daughter when it comes along. I mean, if they want to do it, absolutely. If not, it's okay. You know, this is a sport to be enjoyed. I mean, it's fun to take it to the next level, don't get me wrong, but if you're not having fun, what's the point?
These are 300 game rings. Back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, whenever you rolled a 300 in sanctioned competition, whether it had been a league or a tournament, the American Bowling Congress would give you a 300 ring. Now the old ones, like these are, I still wear because there's not very many of these around, obviously. The old ones have quarter-carat gemstone diamonds in them and were made out of real gold. And they gave those to us for free. Today, they are now giving 300 rings also, but they're made out of silver palladium, and they have zirconia stones in them. These old girls happen to be a couple of the old ones that I have. My oldest one, that one from that very first 300, that is well preserved and in a box, in a display case. Today, that old ring they gave me in 1960-something, 1970, is worth about $4,500. So I'm not going to wear that ring because it wears, because it's gold, and it's good gold. The new rings, they change the designs all the time. Each time you roll a 300 game today, you will get one ring per year. It used to be you got a ring every time you rolled a 300 game. Now you get one per season.